The night feels suffocating, thick with rain and unspoken dread. Streetlights smear across the windshield as Ethan Cole sits frozen in his parked car, staring at the house he built his life around. The engine is off, but his hands tremble as if it's still running. His phone vibrates softly, an innocent sound that now feels cruel. On the screen, a GPS app glows back at him, unforgiving and precise. Maya's phone is inside the house. Inside their house. Just hours ago, she texted him from Chicago, telling him she missed him, ending the message with a heart. That memory collides with another, her voice at their wedding, promising honesty, forever, loyalty. Ethan watches the curtain shift, just slightly. A silhouette moves where there shouldn't be one. In this moment, shock hasn't screamed yet. It's whispering, tightening around his chest, daring him to step out of the car and destroy the life he thought he knew. Ethan doesn't remember opening the car door. He doesn't remember walking up the driveway. His body moves on instinct while his mind fractures behind him. Inside, the house greets him with sounds that don't belong. Soft laughter, relaxed, intimate. A man's voice. Not hurried. Not nervous. Comfortable. Ethan stops at the hallway corner, his breath shallow, heart pounding so loudly he's sure it will betray him. From the shadows, he sees the living room couch. Maya is there, his wife, curled beside another man as if the space was always meant for him. Their closeness isn't frantic or secretive. That's what hurts most. It's familiar. Rehearsed. This isn't a mistake. It's a routine. Time slows, stretching each second into something unbearable. Ethan's mind tries to reject the image, to argue with it, but reality doesn't blink. In that silence, something inside him cracks, not loudly, but completely. Ethan's emotions don't explode. They collapse inward. Shock gives way to disbelief, then humiliation so sharp it burns. His entire marriage replays in fragments. Anniversaries, late-night promises, the way she used to say his name. His keys slip from his fingers and hit the floor. The sound is small, but in that room, it's thunder. Maya looks up. Her face drains, not with guilt, not with sorrow, but with fear. Fear of being seen. Fear of consequences. The other man scrambles back, suddenly aware of the wreckage he's standing in. No one speaks. Words feel useless now. Ethan steps forward just enough to be undeniable. His voice, when it finally comes, is quiet, controlled, almost unfamiliar to him. He asks a single question, one that carries every broken night, every lie, every stolen moment. How long? The screen cuts to black before the answer can wound him further, leaving the audience suspended in raw, unbearable tension. Ethan Cole grew up learning that love was fragile and conditional. His childhood home was loud with arguments and quiet with affection, teaching him early that loyalty was the only form of safety. As an adult, he became everything chaos wasn't: steady, reliable, emotionally controlled. As a project manager, he thrives on structure, deadlines, and responsibility, but those same traits follow him home. Ethan avoids confrontation like a fault line. Instead of pushing back, he gives more patience, more forgiveness, more silence, believing peace is earned through sacrifice. He doesn't ask questions when answers might disrupt harmony. When Maya grew distant, he told himself this was marriage maturing, not unraveling. He worked longer hours, planned more surprises, listened harder. In Ethan's mind, a successful marriage was proof that he had escaped his past. Loving Maya wasn't just devotion, it was evidence that he was worthy, stable, and finally safe. Maya Cole has always known how to light up a room. Charismatic and ambitious, she learned early how to survive instability by being noticed. Attention became reassurance. Validation became oxygen. When her career surged with a recent promotion, it came with new colleagues, new dinners, new conversations that made her feel admired again. Slowly, almost invisibly, the marriage shifted. Late nights were framed as networking. Phone passwords changed for work security. When Ethan noticed the distance, Maya smiled it away, calling him paranoid, sensitive, imagining problems where none existed. But the truth was quieter and crueler. She no longer leaned toward him emotionally. She stopped sharing fears, victories, frustrations. Into that silence stepped Lucas Reed, older, divorced, charming, and perceptive enough to recognize unmet needs. He didn't create the cracks, but he knew exactly how to widen them, whispering affirmation where Ethan offered stability. 7 years of marriage had once felt unbreakable. Ethan and Maya weren't perfect, but they were deeply in love, shared routines, inside jokes, future plans whispered late at night. Over time, those moments thinned, replaced by silence and assumptions. Ethan chose trust every time doubt appeared, because doubting felt like failure. Around them, the truth hovered in fragments. Daniel, Ethan's older brother, saw the warning signs clearly, his cynicism forged by disappointment, his protectiveness sharp and blunt. Rachel Nguyen, a mutual friend, noticed more than she admitted: the guarded conversations, the tension, the way Maya avoided Ethan's gaze. But no one spoke loudly enough to change the course. For Ethan, this marriage wasn't just a relationship, it was his identity. Losing Maya feels like losing his future, his dignity, and the proof that love could last. The betrayal doesn't just threaten his heart, it threatened the confrontation doesn't explode the way Ethan imagined. Instead, it dissolves into something colder. Maya speaks first, her voice steady, practiced, too practiced. She minimizes, reframes, rewrites reality in real time. It didn't mean anything. I was lonely. You were never really here. Each sentence lands like a blade wrapped in silk, sharp but designed to leave no visible wound. Ethan listens in stunned silence as the blame subtly shifts onto him. His long hours become neglect. His calm becomes emotional absence. His trust becomes naivety. This is gaslighting at its purest, an attempt not just to escape guilt, but to fracture his confidence in his own perception. For a moment, Ethan almost accepts it, almost wonders if he failed first. But beneath the confusion, something darker settles in. Not rage. Not tears. A quiet awareness that the woman in front of him is no longer telling the truth, and may never have been .s who he believes he is. Sleep doesn't come that night. Or the next. Instead, Ethan turns to facts, cold, undeniable, immune to manipulation. Phone records. Email timestamps. Travel confirmations. Each click peels back another layer of lies. The affair didn't begin recently. It stretches back over a year, threading through birthdays, holidays, ordinary Tuesdays he thought were safe. Trips Maya labeled as girls' weekends align perfectly with Lucas's travel history. Restaurants, hotels, long gaps in communication, patterns too consistent to ignore. This wasn't an accident. It was a parallel life. The realization is devastating, not because of the sex, but because of the planning. The effort. The discipline it took to deceive him so completely. Ethan feels foolish, exposed, as though everyone else knew before he did. This discovery doesn't just break his heart, it erases the last excuse he had to believe her. There is no misunderstanding left. Only truth. Ethan moves quietly after that. He meets a lawyer without telling anyone, learning how deeply intertwined their lives have become. Shared accounts, shared property, shared risk. Infidelity isn't just emotional betrayal, it's leverage, exposure, vulnerability. The realization hits harder than he expects. He has been loyal to his own disadvantage. That night, he doesn't go home. He sleeps in his car, curled in the driver's seat like a stranger outside his own life. Rain taps against the roof as memories replay. Every moment he ignored, every instinct he silenced. Shame weighs more than anger now. But somewhere in that darkness, clarity forms. Ethan decides not to confront again. Not yet. Silence becomes his shield. Observation his weapon. This isn't surrender, it's strategy. For the first time in his life, he chooses restraint over reassurance, patience over peacekeeping. He starts watching. And once Ethan starts watching, nothing escapes him. Maya's behavior shifts daily, sometimes hourly. One moment she is warm, cooking his favorite meals, touching his arm, whispering apologies that never quite admit guilt. The next, she becomes distant, clipped, treating Ethan like a stranger in his own home. The inconsistency is intentional. Love bombing followed by withdrawal keeps him off balance, questioning his own memory, his own reactions. When he raises concerns, she sighs, exhausted, telling him he's imagining things again. Outside the house, the damage spreads. Mutual friends begin to drift, conversations growing awkward, invitations quietly stopping. Ethan hears the whispers secondhand. He's emotionally unavailable, too focused on work, impossible to reach. Rachel finally admits she suspected something months ago but didn't want to get involved. The betrayal compounds. Ethan isn't just losing his marriage, he's being isolated, rewritten as the villain of a Ethan's world narrows. Nights are spent replaying conversations, dissecting tone, posture, pauses, searching for the moment he missed everything. Self-blame creeps in quietly, If I had been more present, if I had noticed sooner. But anger grows alongside it, slow and disciplined. He refuses to let it spill. Instead, he channels it into control. Ethan starts documenting everything: timestamps, bank statements, screenshots, changes in behavior. His phone becomes a ledger of truth, his calm a disguise. At work, he functions flawlessly. At home, he watches, listens, measures. Maya mistakes his silence for resignation, unaware it's calculation. This internal war changes him. The man who once avoided conflict now understands patience as power. Each note he saves steadies him, reminding him this isn't madness, it's evidence. Ethan isn't healing yet, but he is preparing, and preparation gives him something he hasn't felt in weeks. Clarity. A why he never agreed to tell. Ethan grows quieter, Maya grows careless. She takes calls in the next room without lowering her voice. Leaves her phone face up, vibrating with messages she forgets to hide. Lucas, emboldened, begins pushing for more time, more commitment, more control. Ethan overhears fragments that change everything. Plans whispered late at night. Talk of timing, of finances, of waiting until certain accounts are secure. Maya isn't just betraying him, she's planning an exit that leaves him emptied out. Lucas's tone isn't romantic anymore, it's strategic, possessive. Ethan realizes then that this isn't about love or loneliness. It's about extraction, taking emotional labor, financial stability, and walking away clean. The pressure reaches a breaking point, but Ethan doesn't crack. He absorbs the truth with chilling calm. The war is no longer emotional. It's procedural. And now that he understands the rules, Ethan knows exactly what he's fighting for, and what he stands to lose if he hesitates. The dinner is immaculate. Candles glow softly, plates are arranged with care, laughter hums just beneath the surface. Maya moves through the room like a host in control, greeting parents, exchanging smiles, playing the role she's rehearsed for weeks. Ethan watches quietly from his seat at the table, composed, unreadable. This was always her plan, to announce the separation publicly, frame it as mutual, graceful, inevitable. A narrative where she is brave and honest, and Ethan is distant but respectable. No one notices the tension in his jaw, the stillness in his hands. He lets the meal progress, lets wine glasses clink, lets the room settle into comfort. The longer he waits, the heavier the silence becomes. Maya clears her throat, ready to speak. That's when Ethan calmly stands. The shift is subtle but immediate. Conversations pause. Forks stop mid-air. Something irreversible is about to happen. Ethan's voice is steady, almost gentle, as he asks for everyone's attention. Without drama, he connects his phone to the screen Maya had prepared for her announcement. Instead of prepared words, messages appear, dates, intimate conversations, hotel confirmations. The room stiffens as recognition spreads. Gasps replace laughter. Then financial transfers scroll into view, patterns impossible to dismiss. Ethan doesn't rush. He lets the truth breathe. Finally, he turns slightly and delivers the final blow. Lucas Reed isn't just Maya's co-worker. He's married. His wife is sitting at the table. The silence is violent. Lucas goes pale, stammering, while his wife's face collapses in confusion and horror. Maya reaches for control, but it's gone. The narrative she crafted shatters in real time. This isn't accusation, it's exposure. Ethan doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. The truth is louder than any scream. The room erupts. Voices overlap, chairs scrape, someone begins to cry. Maya breaks down, not in remorse, but in terror at losing control of the story, the future, the exit she planned so carefully. Lucas is exposed and cornered, his charm evaporating under the weight of public consequence. Through the chaos, Ethan remains centered. He looks directly at Maya, his voice cutting through the noise with clarity. "You didn't destroy me. You revealed yourself." The words land with finality. Then comes the legal twist, quiet, devastating. Ethan has already filed. Assets are frozen. The infidelity is documented, time-stamped, undeniable. There is nothing left to spin. No leverage left to extract. In that moment, the power shifts completely. Ethan isn't reacting anymore. He's concluding. The man who once avoided conflict stands firmly in the wreckage, not victorious in cruelty, but unshakable in truth. The night ends with silence heavier than any argument. The divorce doesn't end with shouting or triumph. It ends with signatures, waiting rooms, and long silences. Papers are filed. Accounts are separated. Maya's world narrows quickly. Whispers at work turn into meetings behind closed doors, opportunities quietly withdrawn. There's no dramatic downfall, just consequences unfolding one by one. Ethan doesn't watch closely. He moves out into a smaller apartment by choice, not necessity. Fewer rooms. Fewer echoes. The space feels honest. There are nights when loneliness settles in, but it no longer feels like punishment. It feels clean. He unpacks slowly, keeping only what matters. The man who once equated success with endurance now understands something different. Peace is not the absence of pain, but the refusal to live in constant damage. There is no victory lap. Just the relief of no longer carrying a lie. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives in appointments, in pauses before answering, in learning to sit with discomfort instead of dissolving into it. Ethan starts therapy, not to fix himself, but to understand himself. He unlearns the idea that masculinity means endurance without complaint, that love is proven by sacrifice without limit. He learns boundaries, not walls, but doors he controls. For the first time, he names his anger without shame and his sadness without apology. He begins to speak when something feels wrong, even when his voice shakes. The man who once overgave to keep peace now understands that self-worth isn't earned by being needed. It's claimed by being honest. Growth isn't dramatic. It's quiet and repetitive. But with each session, each difficult conversation, Ethan becomes less afraid of conflict, and more loyal to himself than he's ever been. Months pass. The noise fades. Ethan reconnects with parts of himself he abandoned long ago, running in the early mornings, cooking meals without distraction, sitting in silence without fear. Relationships return slowly, selectively. He no longer chases reassurance or ignores red flags to preserve comfort. Trust, he learns, is not blind optimism. It's awareness paired with choice. When someone enters his life, they meet him as he is, not as he performs. He doesn't rush connection. He doesn't fill space just to avoid emptiness. There is strength in his stillness now. The betrayal didn't harden him. It sharpened him. Ethan understands that love should feel safe, not confusing. Mutual, not extractive. And while scars remain, they no longer define him. His life is quieter, smaller on the outside, but inside, it's finally his. And that is the kind of empowerment that lasts. Months have passed, and the world has softened around Ethan. He sits alone at a small cafe, morning light spilling across the table as steam rises from his untouched cup. There's no urgency in him anymore. No scanning the room, no bracing for impact. He reads for a while, watches people move through their lives, notices details he once missed. The chair across from him remains empty, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like absence. It feels like space. Ethan breathes evenly, grounded in his body, present in the moment. The noise of the past has faded into something distant, manageable. He isn't waiting for closure or validation. He already lived it. This is what healing looks like. Not dramatic happiness, but calm. The kind of calm that comes from knowing you survived something that once defined you, and realizing it no longer does. The bell above the cafe door rings softly. Ethan doesn't look up at first, but instinct tells him who it is. Maya passes by the window outside, slowing just enough to notice him. Their eyes almost meet, but don't. She turns her face away, her pace uneven, shoulders tight. There is no confrontation. No apology. No explanation waiting to be spoken. And that's the point. Ethan feels no urge to stand, to call out, to reopen anything. He watches her disappear into the crowd like someone from another lifetime. Whatever power her presence once held over him is gone. Not because he hardened himself, but because he healed. The silence between them is complete, final, and oddly merciful. Some stories don't need closure through conversation. They end when one person no longer needs answers. Ethan returns to his coffee, unchanged by the encounter, and that quiet indifference says everything words never could. As Ethan finishes his drink, his thoughts settle into clarity. Love, he understands now, should never make you feel smaller to survive it. Respect is not something you earn by enduring mistreatment. It's a baseline, not a reward. He thinks about the man he used to be, the compromises he called patience, the silence he mistook for strength. That version of him isn't gone. It's integrated, understood, forgiven. Healing didn't make him superior. It made him honest. As he stands to leave, one final truth anchors itself in his mind, simple and unshakable. She didn't leave because I was lacking. She left because I stopped accepting less. The line isn't bitter. It's not angry. It's free. Ethan steps back into the street, not healed beyond pain, but whole enough to walk forward without it defining him. And that quiet realization lingers long after the screen fades to black.